Welcome. Welcome to each and every one of you. I don't want to go too pandemic with this, but I do believe that the fact that we put out a magazine in May and we did a virtual reading. That was the first time we had to do it. And this is the second, well, we had two other readings this semester with novelist Wayne Carlin, who's gracious enough to join us this evening, and poet Martina Spada. But this literary magazine, typically it's a different kind of reading. I mean, it's a chance for kind of like friends and family to get together and to share stories and poems and photographs, which I'm going to try to share screen once we get to the photographs. I hope I can do it. I don't know if I can, but I'll do my best. The point is, I want to thank you all for your contributions to the magazine, because it actually seems to me to be, a little bit of light and love at a time when we're so isolated and sometimes not doing too well. So perhaps I was mentioning this earlier. At the end of the reading, if anyone wants to just hang out a little longer and talk about, because we would typically have a reception at the end, but I can't give you cookies and cider right now. Like I can't give it to you. If we could hang out just a little bit reading to talk about, how things have been going. That's what we would have done anyway. So with that preface, I do, again, want to thank you so much for your contributions to the magazine. And the link will be posted very, very soon. It may even be up now, but it's a beautiful magazine. And I think given everything that we've been going through, again, just a slight ray of light and love for, as an educational institution and as a sponsor of literary programs that we can offer to our students and the larger community. So again, thank you so much. All right, let's start, if we could, please, with Jennifer.
All right, I think this is the first time in 27 years that I've been the first one. Cool. Here we go. This poem is titled Cat Puzzle. Fran fans her hand through puzzle pieces in a box on a table in the community dining room. She is so small compared to the other patients who stop by to place a piece or two. The table is too damn small, she says in group therapy, like my window ledge above the kitchen sink. This is where her cat, Reader, folded his black body and tucked white paws on sunny days. The edges are almost done, and she sips tepid water from a clear plastic bottle, trying to cool down from her walk after lunch. Sweat dampens the short silver hair and at her temple and nape, turning it a gleaming gray, like polished granite. Her legs echo the shape of a dancer's. Sometimes Michael sits with her and sorts pieces by color. He is from Italy. She likes that. Her eyes glide back and forth over the emerging picture of cats, the same way she used to look for Reader's tail as he hid under the bed in the front room. This one looks just like his eye, she whispers to herself. She holds it tightly for many minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one question that I have, and we won't extend this longer than we need to, but what was it about her, the things that you mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
The location, the atmosphere, the character, what was it that moved you most?
What moved me most, what caught my eye was the glistening from the light in the window on the sweat at her temples and nape, that gleam, that caught my eye, and I drew in, and then listened to her throughout the day and drew in again at the end of the day when she came back to the cat puzzle. And she picked up that piece, and to know she was whispering to herself, but I could hear it. It's like I got to share that intimate moment with her when she found that color, and she held it up to her heart as she said it. And it was just such a piece of humanity in such a clinical setting that it was striking.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, Diane, waiting for download.
It was taken at a patio table. I was sitting down, and it was really sunny that day. And when I got up, and I noticed how the shadow was casting on the ground, and I thought that was really neat how the swirl was starting to form. And I was thinking, especially working from home a lot, I was like, this looks like the icon, at least on my windows or on your app or anything that you're seeing, the circle just downloading and twirling and twirling, waiting to download. So it's a moment to pause and yes, to pause and to reflect and take a moment instead of getting frustrated to download.
Sorry, like I said, I'm so sorry, Diane. Everyone who is not speaking needs to mute themselves, okay? We'll do it like that, just so there's no background noise. Anything else, Diane?
That was it. I wasn't sure if everybody heard me, but that was just where I got my inspiration from was from a patio table and just watching the sun cast down for the shadow and just capturing that perspective. And
it is a beautiful image, and I'm sorry that I don't have the expertise to actually share it as we're speaking. The link will go out. It will be posted to the Connections webpage, and we will all get a chance to enjoy the image that you captured. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. It's so great to see everybody.
Neil, it's Buenos Dias, right?
Say it again.
The image of Diane's is
No, that's not Diane's. No, hers is called Waiting for Download.
Waiting for download.
Yeah.
I believe it's on page 41.
Yep.
I have it on my tablet.
That's it.
Just to give it a little bit more background of the photo, was taken on my iPhone 5S.
It's almost like a painting.
Mm-hmm. And especially when enhance the contrast, it really just makes it crisp and pop, and just really when you start staring at it, like I mentioned, how it really starts swirling and optical illusion starts to form.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you,
Thank
Neil.
you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll stick with photography for right now. Richard, Buenos Dias, that is the cover of the magazine. I don't know how you pulled that one off.
I don't either, Neil. I've got to tell you, it's great to see you again. But yeah, I wanted this girl to get in there, but I just figured she would get in. I didn't figure she would be the cover. This is cool. Okay, where to start with this? Actually, Diane Payne, my photography buddy, plays a role in this. We were actually looking through Connections photos and choosing stuff one Saturday morning. And I live in the heart of Waldorf, straight center, right dab smack in the heart of Waldorf by a railroad track. So we decided to have coffee one morning, and we're mindlessly going down my street, and I look over and I see this, what I think escaped from Bedrock. I was like, call Wilma and Fred because there's a pterodactyl standing right on the railroad track here. And I'm thinking this in my head. I'm like, oh my God. And the poor girl slammed her brakes on it and I scared her. And I look over and there's this guy. Can you see him? See her? But she's standing on the railroad track, just standing there, very regal, very majestic, very still. And I'm like, oh my gosh. The only time I don't have my camera. So Diane took a picture with her phone at that moment. And so we went on about our way, and Diane calls me the next day and tells me was at Food Lion, and this girl is hanging out in the pond next to Food Lion in Waldorf, if you're familiar with that area. There's a kind of a big pond right beside Food Lion, and she caught her with a fish in her mouth. So this girl's serious about her food. So I guess a week goes by and I'm on the run. I'm actually on the courier run, and I take a shortcut to pull through Food Line, and it's 8:30 in the morning, beautiful sun glistening off of this water that is frozen, and she is right there. I got out of the van, I took my camera over to the fence, and I just started clicking. And this guy was saying, buenos dias, buenos dias. And I'm clicking, going, buenos dias, buenos dias. And I'm not stopping. And I caught her flying off of the ice. Actually, I did not think, this to me was magic. I did not see this coming. So, and that's how she got named Buenos Dias. I called her Sprinkles because she sprinkled joy. So after that, she flew over my house. And I told my neighbor, I said, there's the pterodactyl I was talking about. And we have not seen her since. And so that's Buenos Dias. Thank you.
Well, Richard, thank you for that cover. And I think, to me, when I saw it, that sense of flight, of moving up off the water. I mean, that bird, it's heron, right?
Yes.
Yeah, is basically walking on the water and then on its way up.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good reminder of how, where we are right now is where we may or may not be tomorrow. So there's always like this uplift instead of, going straight down. And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Image. Yeah,
Thanks for letting me share that.
it's beautiful.
Actually, if you look really close, you can see that she's weathered and she has some battle scars there. So something that was so
Even
regal
more.
and stands so proud, and you could see that, she's had her day. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to poetry. Jack, are you here? I can't see everyone. Maybe not. Okay, Jaden,
Hi,
hello.
how's it going?
It's going well. I love your poem.
Thank you, thank you.
So feel free to share it with us.
All right, Honey by myself. At the bottom of the hill, honeysuckles in the shade of the garbage bin. Caterpillar nests hung over the branches behind them, like the ceramic cats posted on the counter of a Chinese restaurant. Positioned to ward us away, settling in the intent. I always reach for the yellow honeysuckles. You always reach for white. With one swath of the arm, you bring a honeysuckle to your nose. Your nostrils would flare, almost wider than the cocktail's home, in the hollow of the pine tree behind us. Then, you would tell me your thoughts on the scent, and wait for me to tell you mine. The descriptors that would leave my mouth were resolute to me, as the pollen shaking from the stems, if tugged too sternly. I hated when the pollen settled in my nose, loathed it, steady in my glasses. My tongue would tell you half-truths, layered in honey, but the caterpillars read the ridges of my lips, and they knew this real better than the lining of their own nests. I won't keep you here for too long. I wanted the chance to tell you. The yellow honeysuckles were wilting and smelled every bit as bitter as the notes of duplicity in the branches. The ones you chose, those honeysuckles were sweet and white and iridescent, and the scent was exactly as you described them. That honeysuckles, they smell like a campfire before the rain. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaden. It's a beautiful poem. And we try to collect works that remind us of our shared humanity. And that's what that just did. So thank you so much for that. Thanks.
Thank you for accepting it.
Okay, let's move on. Let's see. Mona, that Rain on Me image. Can you talk to us about that, please?
It's basically, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Probably not. Anyways, it is a photo of a cloud that's just raining on a tiny particular area. And I was flying at the time, and I just thought it was so symbolic of so many things that we're going through. I was going through a personal problem at that time, and it just kind of showed how things kind of burst in your little world, and for that example of that particular clouds world, and then how everything around it still shined and everything was still okay. So just a reminder, especially in the time that we're in now, that we're in the middle of this tornado, and it's hard to see what's going to happen forward, but we are continuing to strive together and to work together. And like that burst of the cloud, that too did pass, just like this is going to pass soon, I hope. And I just thought it was appropriate for today's time. And it just, some of us are feeling that rain right now. Some of us are thriving in it. Some of us are having problems getting through it. But I think, as they all say, together we can do it. And I think our opportunity to be able to be on Zoom, to see one another's faces and reactions and to talk, I think is one way to help us weather through what we're going through currently. And that's basically what that's about. And I thank you very much for allowing me to talk about it. And thank you for accepting my photo. Thank you, and everyone take care. And I'm from the nursing department, so masks on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona. It's a wonderful image, and I think you're right. It's concentrated. It's down like right in the middle, and if you haven't seen it yet, you will. But all around it is basically clear. So that is a good reminder, and thank you for connecting it to.
I allowed to make comments?
Say it again.
Am I allowed to make a comment?
Sure.
I love the analogy that you talked about with the rain, and what I thought when you showed the picture and just by you describing it is like, this too shall pass, you know, you're going to get through it. It's not a forever thing. And I also wanted to comment on your Christmas decorations. It looks beautiful. It's very peaceful.
Thank you. I thought it
Setting.
would bring a little spirit. We can't have cookies, but we've got some spirit.
I mean,
Thank
I would
you
love
very
to have
much.
Christmas there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Destiny. Okay, let's move on to, Maravi, you want to read your piece? You're muted right now. Not working. No, we're not getting it. No. Okay, we'll move on. All right. So, Sherby, what do you have to share?
Ah,
There you
okay, can you see me? There I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So this poem is called The Dandelion You Trust with Your Wishes. She is an unexpected Cheeto in the mouth of the craving gull, chocolatey cookies to the blue-furred monster, never-ending sunset from an airplane window above tangerine clouds, the bravery of early November Christmas lights twinkling in the darkened streets, the moon that follows no matter how far you go, sliced oranges at halftime, clean laundry, warm towels straight from the dryer, Saturday morning bacon wafting upstairs to wake sleepy eyes, lemon sundress twirling in summer sun, the first touch, the first kiss, the first time you truly knew. The pureness of the virgin snow falling among pines, calm vanilla bean specks and gooey cinnamon rolls, slightly undercooked. Curls on a couch sleeping doodle, the strength of gale storm winds on the shore, the spirited wave that draws you in, candles in the deep purple night, sips of sleepy wine as you melt together beneath the blanket, fields of flowers that turn to feel sun warmth on their faces, the insides of floppy bunny ears, smooth against fingertips, serendipitous daffodils eagerly rising through February's chill, 27 blocks of green lights in Atlantic City, and New Jersey blueberries, mostly sweet, the dandelion you trust with your wishes, the steady hand gently sliding into your back pocket. She is every unexpected sweetness that you didn't see coming, and the happy ending you almost stopped believing in.
Thank you, Sherby.
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know how you came up with serendipitous daffodils, but I love that alliteration, among other things. But thank you so much again, Sherby, for the contribution.
Thank you for letting me share it, Neil.
Okay, so let's move on to Ian. Ian, what do you have?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Neil. This is a poem. There's a lot here, but I think it's pretty straightforward. It's called 3 Feet of Distance. You and I lie on the cushions of your parents' sailboat, me on one side of the cockpit, you on the opposite, with 3 feet of distance between us. The sound of waves in our ears, the scent of bug spray on our skin, the nighttime collage of stars, ghostly clouds, a moon spilling lunar light over the packed sail. Your SAT prep book propped against the galley stairs, and the bay's ripples reflecting back the water's iridescent shimmer. What was that? What happened to us out there, separated by 3 feet of distance, moored in a protective cove, your voice blending with seagulls' calls sailed off to some hideaway? As I stole glances at the way your thin legs shone in the moonlight glow, up to the place where your gray sweatshorts ended and so dearly connected to my heart, which felt as if it bailed blood to relieve the drowning feeling in my throat. Desire, certainly, but also love, I thought, still think sometimes. Do you remember the time you and I got each other off in the same briny bay? Not here, but close by, standing up to our waist in murky water, unable to see clearly what was clearly in front of us. Desire, distrust, breaking the rules because your parents and hidden just enough by an outcrop of shrubs and seagrass where you and I tossed security to the wind, like spilled salt thrown over our shoulders, sat on our knees, turning our fingers into instruments of pleasure as those tepid shore waves rode in, and how gentle your smile arrived, and how suddenly I came, and submersion did a number on my soul, sending echoes of delight through my senses until my toes unwound and I mumbled, "That's good." And you said, "Now me." My wife of 20 years reminds me firmly, we need more toilet paper. She's right, but I'm in the middle of this moment when you and I didn't use toilet paper to clean up, just the water in our hands, which seems kind of dirty, but I never felt guilty. Just nostalgia for a time suspended on the horizon, the sun decadently pink, no witness besides God, who you believe was always watching, a constant struggle for you to do what was right and what was right. I always sensed forever was a fantasy. Some things I knew can't be replicated. That's what I mean by nostalgia watching us. And afterwards, returning to the boat, I felt gravity unkindly abandon its buoyancy from my body, for I was sinking into the sand, into the depths of despair, for time ticks away with that awful feeling. You and I would not last forever, because everything you clearly wanted was more than half of who I was. And I sensed in those waters our undoing, and I didn't like myself, as you cherished yourself, as you should, but we could never be truly together because of it. That night on the boat, with your parents in the cabin below, you did crawl over to my side of the cushions and lay with me in spite of the risks of being discovered. And maybe, yes, God, I wish I had been who I was. I wish I had said to you how much everything we had done to everything we had together meant to me, how cocky I acted out of insecurity, diminished by my own lack of faith, blinded by beautiful things, a great knife of fear I held by my side, ready to slaughter anything that bloomed. The toilet paper, for the record, I retrieved from my car and placed on the ring in the bathroom, wondering why I continue to love too silently, love from a distance, which is no way to love at all. But I have on occasion loved the right way. Raw, exposed, ridiculous. The way I once said to my wife through tears, sometimes I want to disappear. And she closed the 3 feet of distance between us, wrapping her arms around me with tender assurance, knowing in that moment we would never run out of this thing we call love. That's it.
Pulled that one off, Ian.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
that one.
Thanks for including me.
Thank you so much for that. Again, just it's a very, very human, and as you said, you expose yourself in all your subtlety, and it actually, I think, does remind us again of the humanity that we lose every day. I mean, I was having this conversation earlier, but something like what you just read, yes, yes, yes,
Thank you.
that gives it back. And so instead of having it sucked out of you, you're allowing us through your work to give it back. So thank you so much for that gift.
That's a great way to put it too. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so we will go to we'll go to Elizabeth Pruitt. You've got a beautiful image.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Right, so my picture is, it's 2 legs holding up a stump of a leg. How the picture came about, my brother last year had to have an emergency amputation, and in therapy for weeks and weeks afterwards. We would go visit, and one day he said, "Sis, I need you to move. I have to put myself up on the bed properly. I can't let my leg hang down," because the wound was still so open. If the leg hung down, it caused intense pain. So I said, "Well, here," I said, "I'll hold your leg up." I said, "You can sit like a normal person and eat lunch this afternoon." So I held his leg up for him with my leg, and about halfway through, he must have felt my leg tremble. And he said, "Sis, your leg is trembling. Move. You don't have to do this." And I said, "No, I've got you." And then Kevin was with me that day visiting, and he said, "Well, here, I've got you both." And he put his leg underneath mine, and it just showed how much we supported each other, how much we were there for each other, whether we realized it or not at the time. My brother and I had a later conversation after he was out of the hospital and back on the right track and all of that, about how you support those you love, whether you realize you're supporting them or not, and whether you can see your insecurities or not and recognize them. He felt my leg trembling before I did, and he was ready to move so he could say, "Okay, sis, take it easy." But Kevin stepped in and was like, "Okay, no, I'll support you both. And I've got you both during this time." So we all grew really close in that time. We all really learned what support meant last year when we were dealing with all of that. And it's probably one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. So.
Yes, it's a wonderful image. And, if we just published the magazine and didn't have the story behind it that you just told about your leg trembling. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that. That it not only does it enhance the image, but again, it's he knew your leg was trembling before you did. That's what you said? Yeah, that's good. That's very good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Okay, Maravi, can you unmute yourself to read your poem? Can't hear it. No, we can't hear you.
Would you read it for?
I don't have it in front of me. Sorry. No.
What page is it on? Because I'm looking at the magazine now on
Okay.
on site. What page is
It's called Dancer.
I would be honored to do that. Dancer. The sound of the drum slowly beating makes her hips sway side to side. Her arms move like waves as if she's dancing in the air. She smiles and gives you her full attention, making you feel like you are the only one that exists in her world. Her shoulders move secretly from the rest of her body, as if commanding only that part to be of pure movement. She wears a traditional Middle Eastern costume of black bra with gold coin hanging from the edges and a sheer black skirt. Purple glitter on her body that shines with the light. Those gold coins are clinking as her dance becomes more exotic. Her hair is not long, yet her highlights of purple give hints of a free spirit. Moving towards you, she raises her hips as her belly rolls and waves slowly or fast, depending on the drums. She is dancing only for you, regardless of gender. She winks at you, shows off her moves, how she commands her neck, her shoulder, her arms, her belly, her hip. Each part plays a different role, or just stays still as the other shows its skills. Your fingers touch your lips, your wedding band you try to hide. as she sees what you are doing. Her grace tells you her demands, yet her eyes show a hidden sadness that she hides with makeup and a smile. Even the lights up on the stage cannot keep up with her dancing. She loses herself. She smiles. Only in her dancing she is free. She forgets her pain and enjoys the attention that she naturally does not get. Her back arches as she looks at you. Her smile captivates you, licking her lips, inviting you to an adventure. Then standing on her tiptoes, her calf moves fast up and down, gives a motion of hips bouncing as her belly rolls as in waves. Coming close to the tables, many men and women would like a closer glance at you. Swaying her hips, she dances in front of a woman who loses her mind in her turmoil. She pauses and smiles as she sees you, happy to have any attention given to her. She sees that her belly is close to her face. The crowd claps as the woman licks the purple glitter from her stomach, winking at her, blowing her a kiss. The dancer sways to another table. Heading toward a couple who have not once lost track of her movement on and off the stage. Shimmering side to side, her cleavage exposed. She moves between chairs, moving her hips as they stare. The women put the money in her mouth as she presses her lips between your breasts. The husband glides the back of his finger on the curve of her hips. She kisses the woman and blows a kiss at the man. The crowd claps. She spots a man in the far corner. The man is always there, a fan or an admirer. He is in his mid-50s, yet he feels young and handsome in her eyes. She comes close to him as she arches her back, then stays there as her hips move side to side. He hands her a flower as it lays on her belly. Her stomach remains still as her hips run, but the rose does not fall. Holding the rose, she places it in between her breasts and gladly gives him a soft kiss on the lips. Crowd cheers as they wish it were one of them. Dancing back to the stage, she twirls around, her feet barely touching the ground. The drum beats stop. In silence, she rolls her stomach one more time for her admirers to see. Then she ends, takes a bow, and leaves graciously. The room fills up with screams and applause. Gifts are thrown. At the stage, she picks up another rose, money, and jewelry. Sitting down, taking her makeup off, she stares at the mirror, smiling at the admirers that enjoyed her art. She has always had a golden rule to be an exotic dancer, to grace and conquer with her unusual ways. Quickly her smile fades and sadness takes over. Her heart never comes to see her. She gets paid well for a single mother, but it's never enough. She hides a desire that breaks her heart just thinking about it. She cries and suffers in silence, for no one wants to hear her talk about her pain. They just want to see her dance. She is most happy when she dances, smiles because she is free. She dances for the gods, and she holds to another day in solace and joy. Thank you. That was an honor and a privilege. Whew, I gotta go get some sex now.
Well, the good news is that even though the audio wasn't working too well, we still were able to enjoy and feel and experience that poem.
Absolutely.
Can I
Thank
chime in? The
thank
audio
you
was
so much.
working great here.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I'm sorry for those that it wasn't, because it's a fantastic
That
piece.
was
It is
fun.
just,
The audio was fine. Yeah.
Okay, so unless I'm missing something, I'm gonna end this reading this evening with my friend Wayne Carlin, who has published a book called A Wolf by the Ears, which you can see on the connections page. But there's also a video. We did a reading last month with Wayne, and I think it's pretty important that people click on that link. Go to the connections page and click on the YouTube video library. Scroll all the way down and go to the conversation between Wayne Carlin and Michael Glazer about this book. Very important book.
Don't do it right now, though.
Don't do it right now, because he's going to read something from it. But it is absolutely. I'll leave it alone. I won't say another word. I'll let him read. So we have he was kind enough to submit a chapter from this novel that won the Juniper Prize for fiction, and I think we're very fortunate to have it in this magazine. So, Wayne, you can take it from here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be in the magazine, as always. So I got to give you a little of the context of this. The novel is about the War of 1812, when thousands of enslaved people who lived in Southern Maryland and Northern Virginia went over to fight for the British against the Americans and their former masters, because the British promised them freedom if they would fight for them. And a lot of this is, it's a novel, it's fiction. One of the main characters is a man named Tower Hill, who was a slave on a Southern Maryland plantation and joins the British. And the force of former slaves were called by the British Colonial Marines. And they were among the forces that, among other things, burned down Washington, D.C., or parts of Washington, D.C. So the chapter is about that particular incident. The last half of the chapter, first half of the chapter, which I won't read, is about burning the Capitol. What we'll get to do together is burn the White House, which sometimes is fun. I guess a couple other things you should know is that before coming to Washington, the British had defeated the Americans at Bladensburg, came into Washington. The president was James Madison, his wife Dolly Madison, and the name the British had for Americans, for some reason, was Jonathan. They would call Americans Jonathans. So I'll take you into the White House with Tower Hill. In the White House, the smell of roasted meat fills his nostrils. In the dining room, the table had been set as if in anticipation of their arrival. A damask tablecloth, matching napkins, fine china plates, crystal goblets. Now to light from their torches sparks gleams of fire from the silverware and crystal. For a few seconds, the small crowd of British officers, caked with ash, dust, and sweat, stands stunned and then erupt into laughter. How good of Madison to prepare a feast to celebrate their victory. Will the famous Dolly attend them? One hears she offers quite a spread. Madeira wine, what aristocratic tastes these Democrats have. The beef too rare, what? Not to worry, it'll be cockburned to a crisp soon enough. The British admiral's name is Cockburn, sometimes pronounced Coburn. and so on. As the officers sit at the table, Coburn waves the leg of lamb at Tower Hill, motioning for him to join them. But he remains in the doorway. He is repulsed by their hilarity, though he cannot understand why. The faces, Cockburn, Ross, Smith, Evans, Scott, Clegg, all familiar to him, seem transformed as if some devil beneath their skins has been unfettered. Scott spreads his hands, his gesture taking in the table, the silver, the crystal finery. A feast worthy of the champions of Republican freedom. What? He says, directing his statement to the stray American they dragged in with them, coming across him as they walked to the White House. The plump young man is seated next to Cockburn, terrified and trembling, his white wig askew. He blanched when he'd been told the admiral's name. Now Cockburn throws an arm around his shoulder, pushes a wine-filled goblet under his nose with his other hand. Come, good Yankee, what did you say your name was? The man mumbles something. What? Cockburn shouts. Speak up, lad. Display some of the boldness and courage your countrymen exhibited at Bladensburg. Yeah, bold as rabbits. Evans laughs. It's Roger Waitman, sir. Of course it is not. It's Jonathan, yes? Roger Jonathan. Jonathan, Jonathan. The others at the table chant the name. Jonathan, Jonathan, Jonathan. Now, what is your standing in life, Monsieur Jonathan, sir? What work do you do, idiot? I'm a bookseller, sir. Cockburn laughs. And I'm a book burner. Isn't that right, Sergeant Tower Hill? Where are you going, Sergeant? Stay while we make a toast. He stands, dragging the bookseller up, raises his goblet. To peace with America and the hell of Madison. He drains his goblet, fills it again, makes Whiteman drink. That's it, Jonathan. Quaff, quaffing like a man. Quaff, 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 the others call. Jonathan releases the bookseller, lifts himself up. Cockburn releases the bookseller, lifts himself up, and pulls a cushion out from underneath himself. You know what this is, Jonathan? He doesn't wait for an answer. Took it from your queen's dressing room upstairs. Had me a small souvenir of our presidential feast. He raises, kisses the cushion. Belonged to your queen herself, Mistress Dolly, wife of the rather swiftly vacating James. I will keep it to remind me of her seat, the British roar, except Tower Hill sees for Ross. A faint look of disgust passes over the general's face. Now let's have a dance. Show our American representative here how John Bull spins. Smith and Scott get up from the table and dance, an exaggerated minuet, singing to each other, their voices pitched high. A lady of France, she loved an officer, 'tis said, and this officer he dearly loved her brandy, oh. Sighed she, I love this officer, although his nose is red and his legs are what his regiment calls a bandio. Have to pardon me for my voice there. Come join us, my dear sable friend, Scott calls to Tower Hill. Show us how Blackie can dance as well. No, why not? Come back. Desertion's punishable by hanging. He wags a finger at Tower Hill and George Smith sings to him, extending his arms. Lifty, I got for leaves the singers. Quaff. Enters the kitchen. The place must have been abandoned moments before they arrive. Spits of joints of meat are still turning on the fire. The black man sits on a stool in front of the grate, singing softly to himself, drinking from a silver goblet. He turns to look at Tower Hill, takes in the singed red uniform. His eyes are yellow and bloodshot. What are you doing here? Tower Hill asks. What does it look like I'm doing? Tower Hill waves a hand at the kitchen. All this, who is it for? Who do you think lives here? It's for the president. When he comes back, you're free, man. You can leave. The man sorts. Where to, Mr. Redcoat? I'm American. I'm here. Tower Hill stares at him, their eyes locked. Stay, he says to the man. Stay and burn. When he returns to the dining room, it's crowded with men from the 20th Fusiliers, Cockburn sailors, some of his own colonial Marines. One of the white soldiers has piled all the silver plates and goblets in the center of damask tablecloth. He and another bring the two ends of the cloth together, creating a sack for the loot. Ross, his face still serious, tells the man to bring it all outside. He spots Tower Hill. "Come help us, Sergeant," says Ross. "There's still work to be done this night." The general picks up a chair, puts it on the table. Swaying slightly, the other officers, including Cockburn, follow his example. Along with the soldiers, they pile all the furniture in the room on the tabletop. They tear down the curtains, add them to the heap. Then the Fusiliers spread on the gunpowder paste, as they had done in the Capitol. "Tower Hill," Cockburn calls. He's holding a torch. Tower Hill walks over to the Admiral. Cockburn hands him the torch. Looking into his eyes, all drunkenness seemingly vanished. Tower Hill raises it to him in salute, turns, puts the torch to the edge of the tablecloth. It bursts into flame. A cheer arises, and the others begin throwing their torches onto the pile. "Are your Marines ready?" Cockburn asks as they move toward the door. Before Tower Hill can answer, they're outside in the humid August air. It feels cool on his face after the blast of heat inside. He sees Neb in front of the company, next to another company of white Marines and sailors. The men in both groups hold long poles, topped with plate-sized balls of cloth smeared with gunpowder paste. They surround the White House. "They're ready, sir." Cockburn nods. "I owe a certain debt to you, Sergeant. This evening's work's my first payment on it." He nods toward the building. The flames inside make the windows glow red. "You may proceed." Tower Hill walks over to one of the windows. You can see the flicker of flame inside, the shadow of fire playing on a corridor wall. He raises his rifle, smashes it butt first into the glass, the shard cutting his cheek as it falls, his tongue spontaneously licking out, tasting the blood on his lips. Like that, he says to Neb. "Break him up," Ed yells, and the Marines surge forward and smash the glass with their muskets. Mingo stands nearby holding one of the fire poles. Tower Hill remembers him felling Adams with an iron bar on the day of their revolt, the day of a beginning that has brought them here. Tower Hill strikes a match and nods to the smith, who grins and lowers the pole. He touches the flame to the gunpowder smeared ball. It flares. "Light them," he shouts, and Mingo touches the flaming ball to the next pole and the next. When all are aflame, the men throw them through the broken windows. Fire finding fire. Thank you, Jennifer. I should say with that for this, in the start of his liberation, it starts with the burning of a plantation in southern Maryland. And in all of it, this is a sort of culmination for him. Along the way, he is in Leonardtown, setting fires there, and then the Capitol building, and then to the White House. So I mean, there's a great, it was very resonant for me because one of the other things that comes out in this history, and a lot of what happened in that scene did happen in the history, but one of the other things that came out is that the White House and the Capitol were built by enslaved people, and enslaved people were part of the group that got to burn it down on that day. Different definitions of freedom that we have and that we fought for. So thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Again, and again, and again, and again. Thank you. Okay, Jack, I see you're here now. So why don't you, unless I'm missing somebody, I think we can finish the formal part of the reading with your wonderful poem, El Greco.
Okay, I appreciate it. It's I've been writing El Greco poems, I think, for a long time. I was always, I guess, obsessed with him. Even when I was a kid, he was a fave, which is kind of maybe perverse, but this one's actually old-ish. I kept writing them all over. Anyway, I pictured this as being Toledo. I saw that when I was 13. I was there and loved the city and this look of it with the paintings. And so I imagined him walking around in Toledo and what he would see. So, El Greco. Outside, the butcher's son is selling chickens to the cook. Down the hill, the three men digging something don't look up. The grass is only lighter tan, closer to the river. The air gathers there at night. In the morning now, it climbs back up the hill barely. She laughs again. Last night, their voices trailed away like everything trails away from Toledo, slowly toward the river. Startled skirts of birds rose and crossed and settled. She spread her dress like a moon for them to lie down on. In Toledo, people marry in the river. He watched her wring out her hair. The water made a light tapping on the ground. Now he kisses her and says he will come back in the afternoon. He is to meet some friends later to talk about a place to live. She goes inside. Across the river, a man is herding goats. He has 5 of them. Everything slopes toward the river. To the imagination, the goat bells clink, Toledo, Toledo. I will go walking this afternoon and think of a man and woman. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. And thank you all. I can't see everyone, but am I missing anyone who has had something published in the magazine?
Gardy.
Gardy, you're up. If he's here. Well, if not, what I would like to do actually is thank all of you for the contributions and for sharing your poems and stories and photographs. And also, I don't put this magazine together by myself. I have some very dedicated colleagues that believe in this as much as I do. So I'll start with Dee Sidner, David Phelan, Rachel Smith, John Kulikowski, Chris Ankney, and Sonia Fernandez. You know, we could easily, we could easily have abandoned this project, all right? Because we can't do the face-to-face and we can't do the actual print copy. What happened last spring was we printed copies for the contributors, and I know a lot of you, some of you anyway, were in the magazine in the spring. I couldn't get to campus to send them out. So it's all online. And the good news is we've still got the desire to continue this effort. And we have 4 readings coming up in the spring, including another literary magazine in May. So I want you to, I would like for you to check the Connections webpage on the CSM site and, you know, see what we're doing and submit because we need more. We need more of this, much more of this. So to the extent that we can provide the platform to do it, even if it is like this, then I'd be honored to be a part of it. So thank you all so much for your contribution to the magazine and for continuing what we think is important. And I know there are a lot of students here too that we may or may not see who I believe are going to have an experience that maybe they wouldn't have had in the face-to-face class. So for those of you students whom we cannot see, submit too, all right? Write something and submit it. The deadline for the spring is March, and you know, you can just look online for it. So thank you.